It's been a very long road to get here, and still eternity lay ahead. And we've been walking for so many cycles, blessing every step that we tread, dreaming this realm into life, dancing with the elements, developing inner coherence to crystallize our intent. We tune our fields to the song of the true self, infinite intelligence, to inhabit the array of divine creation in harmonious resonance. Love and wisdom live in our bones, and we awaken them with coherent tones. We hear our songs clearly, and we sing them true. The songs that vitalize and inspire me and you. Love and wisdom live in our bones, and we awaken them with coherent tones. We hear our songs clearly, and we sing them true. The songs that vitalize and inspire me and Causmic Garden, written by James Freeman. Read by the author. Chapter 2. Remembering. The daily life of Gerald was mystical indeed, but the fantastic stories he had read and heard spoken by so many of spirits, angels, mythical creatures of all kinds remained a fictional narrative for him, until one night when he lay silently in the forest, enjoying his usual stargazing sojourn when the weather was warm enough to sleep outside. There began, some ways down the river, a quiet tone which flowed up and down in pitch, synchronized with the ever so subtle whistle of the wind. Gerald, at this point in his life, had spent many nights in the forest alone, but something about the tone which sounded now, keeping time with the river's rhythm, awakened in the young man some deep ache, as though a yearning lived in him which had been alive in his ancestors, long before he was born, and had been asleep within his heart for nearly all his life, until now. Such were the challenges which began to present themselves as Gerald remembered his true nature. Do we sort ourselves out now, or put it off? With a slow, deliberate inhale, Gerald took his seat in the throne of his own mind, in the temple of his own body. The young man abided in his knowing and spoke thus. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. I am here. I am here. I am here. And I am free. Then, gently rising to his feet, Gerald directed his attention and focused on the source of the pleasant sounds emanating, it seemed, from the shrubs over yonder. Immediately, as he focused on it, he felt electrified by the vitality of the noise's source. Gerald cautiously pressed his attention forward. His feet were drawn toward the sounds, so, with the utmost care, he approached their place. The sound pressed against his field's inner boundaries, the parts of his aura built to protect his body and psyche, and upon those boundaries the sound spoke, with a voice as melodious as the song it continued to play. "Aye. So you know who you are, do you?" Gerald was still. There were indeed parts of his psyche and his field which had not yet fully resolved their misidentification, but he had successfully brought them all home and into peace with one another. His multifaceted self got along with itself, most of the time. Now was one of the times when it did not do that. Here was this disembodied voice that felt beyond familiar, and, not remembering an experience like this ever in his life prior to this day, the youth was shocked, and he felt dissonance. Through sheer force of will, he gathered himself, soothed the parts of his psyche that were reeling, and replied with the voice of the true self. "Aye, indeed I do. What's more, disembodied singing voice, I know who you are. You are here, and you are free." There was a brief silence, and the voice began to rumble with laughter. "Well, I'll be darned, boy. I'd probably have said the same thing in similar circumstances. But the truth is, you haven't the foggiest of who you are." Gerald caught his reactive impulse well before it could express and held his position. "That's an interesting claim. Do you have some evidence to support that?" Again the voice shook with mirth, and the shaking now felt that it was all around Gerald's slightly trembling frame. "No, sonny. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. You'll see. Anyway, here's the rub. I'm you, the big you. And the reason you've only come to find me now in the forest is that it's time for you to wake up. Before you ask, no, I haven't been waiting for you in the forest. What it is that you cleaned up your body enough and your psyche enough that you can finally hear my song from your own heart. Whether you choose to sing it or not is up to you, of course, because for some reason you seem to call the shots, even if you're way off target. So, welcome to your real life. Ta-da! You're not merely a man. You're like a plasma tornado or a big old donut made of chi prana. Plasma tornado sounds better though, so we'll go with that. A cosmic whirlwind with an eyeball in the center. Or a torus field. I am the aspect of self who knows who he is, who you truly are. Imagine the field itself. And since you misidentify as only the human aspect, you can comprehend that the personality structure in the body as the dense, crystallized instrument through which we express our divine will within that torus field. You doing okay, guy? The voice was responding to the increased rate at which Gerald's heart was beating. After another few moments of trembling, the young man steeled himself, shook his head, stood tall, and stretched his hands up into the sky, then down to his toes. When he drew himself back up, he concluded that this disembodied voice wasn't lying. It felt like a major part of him, but neither the voice nor his own small thinking was the whole enchilada. Indeed, as he continued to listen to its ever so soft, lilting resonance, it felt increasingly familiar. A dozen or so tears emerged from his eyes as he recalled the age of 5, when he had begun to turn the volume down on this voice. By 10, he had put the radio in the closet and covered it with several layers of keepsakes. But now, with a few mere tears and some 12 seconds of focused attention, the living man quickly resolved his stuck energy by telling it in his true voice, "Listen here, little man. You've got this. Nobody is going to do it for you, but you are capable. And if you stay the course, you will come to know the laws of creation in all their glorious perfection." And when his voice was returned home to the garden which Gerald had built inside of his heart, that's when the magic began to happen. So if we can keep up this game of being separate because you find it useful, for now, I need a name. What do you got for me? Gerald pondered this for a few minutes. When he spoke, it was with genuine excitement. Sky. Hello, said Sky. An image of an eagle soaring out of the mists above a sunlit mountain forest. The sharp scent of cedar and the roar of the wind flashed through Gerald's mind. The young man was whole, and knew it to be so. So, you're like the part of me that is God. Sky laughed and said, Well, you are God. You've just been denying it for such a long time that you've twisted yourself into a net. Don't get messed up about it, though, because everybody is God. The distinction between knowing and denying is coherence. Bona fide enlightenment is really just not having any misidentification going on. Like if you were totally realized, this whole dichotomy of me and you as a duality wouldn't be a thing. Gerald thought, maybe so, but it seems a helpful way to acclimate to more of the cosmic stuff. I don't remember any of that. I imagine it would be jarring to recall. Sky interrupted with, The true self knows precisely who he is. Your cosmic nature is by no means a foreign matter to you. I believe you are playing with yourself, and on some level enjoy watching the small self bumble around in foolish confusion. However, you also delight in, and are realized through, standing firmly in your knowing, with grace and certainty in your words and deeds. So I'll say that yes, Gerald, it would be jarring to the small self, but the small self is merely a creation of yours. It may have gotten away from you, so to speak, but the body and psyche of the man, Gerald, are your property. You are the sole owner of a temple of God, in more or less fair condition. The temple is indeed an expression of you, specifically the unique, one-of-a-kind plasma tornado that you think of as yourself. Remember this. Your body is in your mind, or psyche. The psyche is like a huge castle full of chambers, and in that there are parts of the psyche that the true self attends to, cosmic stuff, which is like most of the chambers, and there are parts attended to with the personality, hue of man stuff, and some basic man stuff. Although the real man stuff is when there is no small self, because you know who you are. But in and on this castle, this temple of embodiment, you are the steward, or the king, of this one being. I'm just the part of your psyche that you've cordoned off, so that you can pretend to be a mere little human. You can talk to me like I'm the cosmic side of you, because that's what I am in function. We can talk in your mind, heart, you can speak aloud, but maybe be wise about when and where you do that, so you don't cause a ruckus unnecessarily. By the way, these are your rules, and you can change them, obviously, because you're always free. You got all that? Gerald gathered himself and affirmed that he did. Indeed, he got all that. Having found himself, the young man was ready for clarity about what the reason was behind this bizarre encounter with a higher tier of his own mind. Sky, why now? What do you mean? Well, why are we reunited only just now? I told you, Haas. Your focus and discipline has paid off. Also, the time you spend in nature likely has as well. It's not a new thing, my presence. It's just that you mostly ate junk food as a kid and into adolescence. It was only a couple of years ago that you started eating fresh fruit and other raw living foods. Gerald found himself turning his attention to his gut and very faintly remembering how he used to eat. He was glad not to be doing that anymore. And it was true that his gut health had played a large role in his recent years of coherence. Is that it? Well, no. The fact that you meditate regularly, get your feet in the dirt, leave the city sometimes, and have a sort of holistic life strategy thing going on, all of that factors in. Really, what it comes down to is this. When people are clean enough in their body and psyche, really sorted out, then they will feel inclined, sometimes even aching, to develop greater coherence, or to know who they are, to be in their knowing. And as luck would have it, nature's laws are perfect. So all you have to do is be who you truly are, and presto. But you still have to attend to your creations. Everything unsorted must be sorted. There's no need to tear your psyche to shreds, though. You'll know what you must attend to and how with divine timing as you align to your true self. Indeed, all your needs are met in perfect ways. Gerald took a moment to contemplate this. That sounds too good to be true. Well, yeah, you're not wrong exactly. I mean, technically you're incorrect, but I know what you're trying to say. The thing is, your needs being met in perfect ways scarcely resembles the small self's ideas about what that looks like. Here's what you get. Nature's laws are perfect. If you choose to live, you must serve all life in some way. That is the requirement. To serve is to conduct oneself in benefit to all life. Or as I say, to learn and grow stronger, always and eternally. Everyone is free to choose how they learn and grow and serve, but nothing escapes the law. So it behooves every living being who wishes to continue living to know the laws of nature and harmonize with them, because the only other option is suffering.